I'm an educator, university and careers guidance counselor, and I teach biology. And I love all the things that I get to do, but I especially love teaching biology. Because at some point in that profession, your students start to look at you like their own personal physician. They come up to you and they're like, "You're basically a doctor, right?" I'm like, no, that's not at all what's going on right now. But they continue on and they ask me about whatever ailment might be coming their way at that time. They come up to me and be like, "Hey, I got this weird rash going on. Like, what's this about?" I'm like, "You keep that covered up until you see a doctor." I had one kid last year, he came up to me and he goes, "Is it odd if my heart rate goes from like 80 to 120 and then back to 80 in about 25 seconds? Yeah, that's a major problem. Go see a doctor. Don't come and talk to me about it." But I get all sorts of things from, how my knees work, and my hips are hurting, I need to work on my running or nutrition. I get all sorts of great questions, and I absolutely love that part of it. Because I think educators, we love questions. Parents, I think you get a little bit tired of questions. I think your child reaches that late toddler stage, and they start to challenge you with the why question all the time. It's like, "Hey, come on, we gotta get ready." Why? Because, we're gonna go to kindergarten. Well, why? Because you're gonna hang out with friends, you're gonna socialize, and it's gonna be a lot of fun, you're gonna sing songs. But why? Look, I can't handle this anymore. Just go somewhere else where you can ask that question. But educators, we love the why question. And students, I don't think they know how to handle it. Because they come in and they're ready to annoy us with the why question. And then we light up like it's Christmas. We're like, "Oh, I'll tell you why. I am so glad you asked because I've been waiting for this moment." Because we love genuine inquiry. Great questions drive great learning. Bad questions, they suck the life right out of the room. You know the bad questions. Is this going to be on the test? Do we have to know X? Bad questions almost always come back to a grade. Students are concerned about what symbol they're going to get and what that's going to say about them and their future. And so suddenly it's all worried about this grade. And don't get me wrong, grades can be an excellent source of motivation, and they're a really good sense of pride. In fact, I'm pretty sure that's why refrigerator doors are magnetic. It's so that you can take the work, your test, and where you got a good grade, you can put it up on your refrigerator and you can show off to your friends and family. You're like, "See, I got that 7. In fact, to this day, if you were to go back to my parents' place around Easter, you'd see where my mom still puts up my short story about Speedy the bunny rabbit. Check out this piece of literary excellence. "Once upon a time, a rabbit was hoping in the bushes. His name was Speedy. If he went he's fastest, he could go as fast as a motor sickle." And you'll notice I got a grade of a blue and green Easter egg sticker. And I'll tell you, that was better than the red and yellow one. You see, at that point in time, grades were just fun. They were smiley faces and stars and fun stickers. And then eventually they turn into letters, A through F, or 1 to 7, and that depends on where you're from. We're at an international school, and so we use 1 to 7, and 7's the best. But people come to us with 1 to 5, and 5 was the worst, and 1's the best, or any other iteration of it. The reality is that at their best, grades can inform what Basil Bernstein would call the vertical discourse of knowledge. In other words, you know this much about this subject, and now you're ready to know this much about it. And then you can go on to this one. It's a depth thing. But very quickly, grades become part of the horizontal discourse. In other words, how do I compare to all the people around me? And students, I know you do this. Because we give you your test back, and what's the first thing you do? "Hey, what did you get? Did you get a number?" "I got a number." "Did you get a number?" Hey, we all got numbers. And it seems like this horizontal discourse, this comparison of others, really seems to take hold in middle school, like between the ages of 11 and 14. And can we just admit that's kind of an odd time in our lives? Yeah, I don't know what I wanted from this photo. I think if you asked 12-year-old me right after taking that picture, "Hey, what's going on here? Are you just like a big fan of cheese balls?" I wouldn't know. When I was 14 years old, I broke my leg ski racing. I needed a full-length cast, from toes to hip. And when I went to the hospital, the orthopedic technicians convinced me I shouldn't have a pale cast, I should go for a blue and pink spiral cast. I had to wear that thing for 3 months. Couldn't wash it, obviously, so now I've got awkward 14-year-old energy, a cast that says, hey everybody, look at me, and a funk that says, but don't get too close. My own sister went to the same school as me. Did she look out for her dear younger brother? Be like, hey, maybe don't wear a cast that brings so much attention to you? No! She just watched and laughed as I suffered the embarrassment. Character building. But then comes high school. The IB diploma, A-levels, Matura. Suddenly those stars and smiley faces, they turn into grades. And this isn't good enough. And your whole future depends on it. Why? Because university admissions are interested in your grade, in your number. Some of them might read an essay about you, and even fewer still might even offer you an actual conversation. But all of these things are vulnerable to Gen AI. The reality is, since Dr. Chat appeared on the scene a couple years ago, educators have had to adapt and shift the way that we make evaluations so that we're actually representing authentic knowledge about what a student can do and what they know. But university admissions, this system of giving a number to somebody to determine if they're ready for university or not, that hasn't changed since 1910. You want to know what else was going on in 1910? Smallpox. Horse-drawn carriages were more popular on the roads than cars. To put that into perspective, that would be like you driving around in your Audi Q5 with a horsepower of 360, step out of it and get into a horse carriage with a horsepower of 1. The reality is that success at university does not come down to your grade. It comes down to strong character. And while a grade might be indicative of your character, this reductionist method of trying to represent what somebody can do and who they are just doesn't cut it anymore. It's not what we should be doing. We have the ability to be developing entirely full character ideas of what young people can do. We can show things like what your passions are and your interests, your motivations, and you can describe all these things really well. But I get it. Universities look at that and they say, well, it's hard to understand somebody's character without reading essays or learning more about them or talking with them or watching videos. And gee, John, we just don't have the time for that. Why don't we just use a number? That'd be so much easier. Look, for all of its faults, and there are plenty, AI actually really helps us with qualitative analysis. And there are ways in which we can represent what people are interested in, their values, and their character so much better than a grade. It's happening now. If you take, for example, the Learner Passport or Citizens, these are excellent ways that people can demonstrate their passions, their interests, their characters, their values, all these things through essays and video diaries and journals and things that actually matter to that person far beyond what the grade could ever show. And there are some universities that are already taking advantages. They match up with Global Match. This is basically a process of reverse admissions. It's where the universities look for you, not the other way around. They look for the people that represent their values and their mission, their interests, and then they reach out to you. The reality is that university admission systems have to change. So what can we do about it? Well, firstly, we can't solve today's problem with yesterday's thinking. And this is going to require all stakeholders, not just the university admission teams to change. So for teachers, parents, and students, this means that we have to reform and reshape what we think a great university really is. We have to scoff at the university that only looks for that number, and instead value the university that really wants to get to know who you are and what you can bring to the table. And for university admissions teams, you need to adopt this sort of stuff. These are the ways that you can really get those characters in your schools that can help to drive your missions and really create the pinnacles of knowledge that we're trying to create. The reality is that if we keep things the way they are since 1910, it's not only static, it's killing meaningful education. It's tying students and teachers down to terrible questions like, is this going to be on the test? Let's move. Let's embrace and engage creativity. Let's take the risk and step forward to actually create global citizens. I mean, doesn't that sound way better than developing test takers? Isn't that actually what our world really needs right now? I think it's time we critically examine and reframe and reshape what I believe to be the most detrimental thing to our society. University admissions. They hold us back from doing things that truly matter. So, to you, students and parents, look beyond the grade. It doesn't tell you near as much as you want it to. And to our university admissions teams, it's time to change. Because we're all moving forward. And you need to get yourselves in motion. Thank you.